Hi. Um, so my name is Jen, and I kind of wanted to just share my story. I don't really know what to do for a good introduction, and I don't really know what to say in order to start it off. But basically, this video is going to be explaining my story and why I'm bald. So it was about 6, almost 7 years ago. I started losing my hair. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what was happening to me. I had walked into school one day and a friend of mine was like, "Hey, you have a bald spot on your head." And I was like, "Nah, you're playing. That can't possibly be me. I don't know. It's not true." I thought he was just messing around, but then that same day, I went home and I looked in the mirror and I found it. And I just kind of froze. Like, I didn't really know what to do. I didn't know, how to react. But I went and got my mom and told her that, I had a bald spot on my head. And she didn't know what to do. So, the next day, I didn't go to school. And I went to a dermatologist. And the dermatologist had told me that it was inconclusive at the time, that they didn't know what it was, and that they couldn't tell me what was the cause or any of that. And she wrote me a note and said that I was allowed to wear a hat to school, and that was that. After a little bit of time and my dermatologist doing some research, I had found out that I had alopecia. Now, there's 3 types, and the first one is alopecia areata, or areata. I don't remember how to say that. And that's what I started out with. I started out with alopecia areata, and that's when you just start losing hair in patches. You don't lose all of your hair, and that's what I started with because I had that one bald spot. And then it started progressing, and it only got worse. And so I moved from having alopecia areata to having alopecia universalis, which is when you lose all the hair on your head, and that's it. You don't lose anything else, just the hair on your head. And I thought that that's where it was going to stop, but it didn't. In fact, it only got worse, and I ended up being diagnosed with alopecia totalis, which is the 3rd kind, where you lose the hair on your head, you lose eyebrows, eyelashes, any body hair. Essentially, you lose it all. I don't have eyelashes, I don't have any eyebrows, I don't have any of that. And it's been very tough for me. It's been very tough going through school and going through high school and not having hair to experiment with, or not having just hair, just not having hair in general, just not having it and not being able to go around school with it. It's just, I didn't feel right, and I didn't feel like I belonged. And I mean, I had wigs and I had hair pieces that I wore, but it still never really, it never felt the same. yeah, I would wear hair pieces, and I would have hair that came down, but I mean, it didn't mean anything to me because it wasn't hair that came from my scalp. And that was one of the most important things to me at that time. And I just kept, my self-esteem dropped dramatically. I didn't feel good enough for anybody, any guy. I didn't feel good enough for. I didn't feel pretty. I didn't feel beautiful. I didn't feel good about myself at all. I felt pretty freaking low about myself, and it sucked living like that, but that's what it did. And one of the main reasons that had happened to my self-esteem is because I got bullied severely. I had an Ask FM, and I know it's pretty old now, nobody really uses that, at least not that I know, but I had one of those, and people would comment and leave questions every single day about just saying awful things to me about me being bald. Like they didn't know me, they didn't like know anything about me, and they would tell me all the time that I was an egghead and all these other things, and they were just saying like really, really hurtful things. And I mean, I did all that I could not to let it get to me, but just hearing it consistently every day from the amount of people that there was, because there was a huge amount of people that were doing it, it really like had a weight on me that I couldn't get rid of. And it was really, really hard because I was in my sophomore year of high school, and it was when I had just moved, and I didn't know anybody, I didn't talk to anybody, nobody talked to me, nobody really knew me, and I didn't know anybody else, and I was just kind of sticking to myself. And I kind of relied on my online friends I had a few of them, I didn't have many, and part of them were ones on Ask FM, and they were very supportive of me and very supportive of my hair disorder and everything that I've gone through, and I really enjoyed that, and that was one of the main reasons that I kept my Ask. And so I kind of just let the negative comments just keep coming. I would only answer a few of them and like defending myself and whatnot, but I wouldn't answer all of them. I wouldn't pay any attention to most of them, and it got so bad at one point that I had to stop using it because I couldn't keep logging in and seeing all these hateful comments and seeing all these posts and whatnot about how ugly I am and how worthless I am and how nobody wants me on this planet and that I should just go and kill myself and all these things that, I mean, yeah, it was something that it was said by someone that I didn't know, but the fact that it was still said and that they meant it really like weighed really heavy on me, and I didn't know what to say and I didn't know what to do, and there wasn't anybody that I could really report it to because it was online. Nobody could really do anything. Identities were a secret 90% of the time, that like there was nothing that anyone could do. And that was one of the things that really, really got to me, is that nothing could have been done about it. Nothing. Not a single thing could have been done about it. And I had to sit there and take it or just not go on the site. But like I said, I had friends on there. I had some really awesome people that I met on there. And I didn't want to leave that behind just because of these people, and a lot of people didn't have anything other than that, and at the time I didn't have any access to anything besides something that I could access to on the computer. So Twitter and Ask and stuff like that was all I had, and a lot of people didn't have Twitter at that time. And So I couldn't talk to them, and I couldn't get that support that I needed. So I needed to stay on there because I didn't have friends at school because I was new. And the only support that I had was from those people online. And that's what I needed. My parents didn't know about it. My parents still don't know about it and don't know about all the things that people said about me online. They don't know anything about that. And after dealing with that for so long, it really took a toll on me, and it really really weighed down, and I started going into a really, really dark place, and I started going into a really deep depression, and it was really bad. I couldn't see the point of getting up in the morning. I couldn't see myself really living to the next day. I would be driving in a car somewhere, and I would just hope that in the back of my head that something would happen, that the brakes would give out, or just something would happen so that I didn't have to continue on this life, and that I could just be free, and I wouldn't have to deal with the things that I had to deal with. And every time I was still here, and that really, really upset me, because I didn't want to be here. I didn't want to live on the earth anymore. And I know that it sounds selfish, because I know that my family and the few friends that I did have would be very upset. But I couldn't keep pushing on in a life that I wasn't happy with. And so after then, I started cutting. It was my one coping skill that did work. I would try listening to music, I would try writing, I would try playing games and playing my PlayStation, but like none of it worked, and I couldn't do anything about it, and nothing would help. And so I tried cutting, and cutting for me was a pain that I could control, pain that I could stop if I wanted to. And it was something that if it was too painful, that I could stop or apply less pressure or anything like that. I could stop that, and I had control over it. And that's what I loved about cutting, is that I had control over it, and I had control over what happened and how hard it was and how deep it was, and I was just so in control. And the pain that was there, I started feeling numb after a while, and the cutting is what really made me feel again, because I could feel the pain of the cuts. And that was another one of the main reasons that I started cutting, was because it was something that I could actually feel. And I mean, it was really hard because there were people that would notice a bracelet would slide down and they would see some, and I would get looks all the time. And I actually had a teacher that told me that if he saw it again, he'd have to report it. And that's when I started getting better at hiding it. I started wearing long sleeves all the time. I stopped just wearing bracelets because bracelets didn't cover it up like it needed to. And that's when I started like wearing the long sleeves, wearing jackets all the time. I didn't take them off. I didn't do any of that. I made sure that they were covered at all times, or I started doing them in different areas so that they weren't seen. and it was hard. It was really hard. And then I was at such a low point in my life that I needed to be hospitalized, and because if I wasn't, I would have killed myself that night. And I was hospitalized, and I was in the hospital for about 2 weeks. And even after that 2 weeks, I didn't feel ready to leave. It was really hard. My first hospital trip was really, really hard. But I was in the hospital, and I talked to the psychologist that was there, and he helped a lot. He really helped open my eyes about a lot of things that needed to be opened, and open my eyes about a lot of the issues that was going on. And I'm very grateful for that hospital trip, because if it wasn't for that one, then I wouldn't have learned some of the skills that I learned. However, I didn't learn what I needed to learn in that hospital trip, and 2 months later, I ended up getting back into that low point and wanting to kill myself again and needing to go back. And so I went back, and I learned that time that the only thing that was going to actually change was if I made the change myself, because if I could let myself be in this depressive state and could let myself sit here and just be sad, or I could go out and do something and try my hardest to get out of that depressive state. And if I'm trying my hardest to get out of that state, and I'm trying everything I can to be happy and be genuinely happy and not faking it, then that's all I could really ask of myself. And I was in control of that, because I was in control on whether I wanted to let myself sit in sadness or try and be happy. And once I learned that, the second time I was hospitalized, I did a lot better with dealing with my depression, because I was diagnosed with severe depression. And depression isn't something that just goes away or that you're cured of. Depression is always there with you. Depression is a chemical imbalance in your brain, and that's not something you can just get rid of. And that's one of the things that really sucks about depression, because no matter what you do or how hard you try, it'll always be there. And it can always just sneak up on you in a very unpredictable way. That was what my second hospital trip was. I didn't want to go, and it was something that just totally snuck up on me, and it kicked my ass, honestly. No matter how hard I tried to fight it, I couldn't fight it. I couldn't at all, and I stood no chance. And that's what led to my second hospitalization, because I couldn't fight it. I couldn't handle it. I couldn't do it on my own, and I needed help. And they decided that I needed to go back to the hospital, and it was really hard going back to the hospital, because I felt like a failure, and I felt like I felt like a failure, and I felt like I wasn't trying hard enough, and that I could have done more to prevent myself from going back to the hospital. And I just kind of put the blame all on me, and that wasn't really something that should have happened. And it was really hard. But ever since that second hospitalization, my depression has gotten better, and I've become more confident with myself. A few years ago, I would have never been able to film a video of myself talking about my hair disorder without a hairpiece on at all. But now I'm walking around my school without hair and actually being myself and that's a very huge step for me. And my depression has gotten better since then, and I haven't had any depressive episodes, and I haven't had any instances of cutting or any of that, and I've been clean, and it's truly a great feeling being clean like this. And I just hope that this video can give hope or help someone. This video can help someone realize that there is hope, and that things do actually get better, and that you can be strong and you can get through this. So I really hope that this video helped, and if it did, leave some comments or whatever. I don't really know how to end this, but I really hope this helps. So yeah.